It is the Doomsday Podcast. Matt Mosley, Ed Werder. We are, as you can see, still in Oxnard, California at Cowboys training camp. And we've had a busy, busy day. And we've got some exciting things to share with you, a couple of podcasts. And, about as big as you can get with Stephen Jones. We've talked to Shoddy today. Ed, it's been a pretty strong day, I would say, here at camp, especially given there are no practices today.
There's nothing going on in the field except for the incessant noise that interferes with our interviews now and then, and painting the practice field or mowing the practice field. And I can tell you from my time at ESPN of doing pregame live shots, they're invariably in your way, interfering with what you're trying to do and testing your powers of concentration. But I think it was great. We all know that the Cowboys have been probably the biggest news story in the NFL among all the teams because of the contract situation with Micah Parsons and the stalemate between Jerry and Stephen Jones and Micah Parsons and his agent, who, by the way, is David Mulugeta, who Jerry said he didn't know his identity and Stephen pretended he didn't know as he was leaving with us here today in a joking fashion. But every indication is they still haven't talked. I think that's something they definitely need to get resolved. Listening to Jerry yesterday made me think two things. One is he's remains bitterly upset that in his mind he negotiated a deal in essence with Micah Parsons back in March directly without the agent being involved, and that those terms are now not being honored. And he also feels, in addition to that Micah's under contract now, and by holding in and not participating fully, like Dak did when he was in this situation last year, that he's violated that contract. And so I don't think there's a lot of trust there. There's an assumption, I think, that Jerry's going to, solve this right before the week one opener at Philly, defending Super Bowl champions, big division game, first game in the whole NFL season. But I think there's an increasing possibility that he forces Micah Parsons to play out his contract and then uses the threat of 2 years of franchise tags on him, like he did with Dak early on.
I'm still not buying it, but it is a very interesting angle. And here's the one thing I'll say. Dak was disrespected. He said that he was open about that at the time, but he is far.
Micah said he was disrespected?
No, Dak.
Okay.
Dak was going through his thing. But the point I'm making is I think Micah is far more emotional than Dak. And so there's going to continue to be a back and forth. And I know what you're saying. They could make him play and they could make him do it. But boy, you're going to have 2 years of a guy that's just unhappy. I still think he'll be good to his teammates.
They did it with the quarterback. Now he's a different guy. He's not the team guy within the organization, according to sources who know the situation and the personalities well. He's not the team guy that Dak Prescott is. Few players in the NFL are. He's not 30-plus years old and reached that level of maturity, that Dak Prescott has. And he demonstrated that last Friday when he put out an extensive social media post and demanded a trade. And he said goodbye to Dallas.
Yeah, and we should say Dak was making far more money in this situation he was in than
he didn't for the Micah. First 4 years.
No.
Micah made more.
He is now making more. You're right. Yeah.
He was a first-round pick. Dak was a fourth-round pick.
It is it's Doomsday Podcast. Let's do this now. We were fortunate enough, and boy, Ed has bird dogged this thing for a while, and we seem to get him every year, and it's become kind of a tradition. I think he enjoys it, and we enjoy having him. It is the executive vice president, the co-owner, the director of personnel. He's in charge of the stadium. He does it all. It is Stephen Jones joining the Doomsday Podcast.
All right, the Doomsday Podcast. We're down to our final days, final hours. But now we're doing something that we do annually. We get Stephen Jones's perspective on this football team and how it was built and what expectations should be. Stephen Jones, if you don't know, has 5 titles, at least, with this organization. And
I didn't actually know that.
One of them is co-owner. I see now.
Oh,
Does
wow.
Jerry know that? Is Jerry aware that you're?
Yeah, I kind
Now referred
of
to
made a
as
power
co-owner?
move on him. And I think he came up with that, actually. So that's good.
He's trying to distance himself.
Yeah, well, it's
Steven's the one not getting this deal done with Micah. And I'm,
exactly. Go talk to Steven about it.
so everybody who comes to camp, every journalist who comes to camp does one story. They're doing the Micah Parsons situation.
Mhm.
So we talked to Jerry yesterday. He surprised me a little in saying that he's not confident that Micah is going to be available against the Eagles week 1. He said Micah's got a say in this, and he doesn't know what Micah's point of view is. How do you see this getting resolved one way or another and him being on the field for that Eagles opener?
I'm probably a little different than Jerry. I just never like to speculate, period, on any negotiation because it never, it's never done until it's done. And I think Jerry did say it best. You got two sides that have a say in this, and Micah has a say in it, and we have a say in it. Obviously, he's getting, great advice from his representatives and I'm sure other financial people. And, that's just the nature of this business when you're dealing with top players. And, the great news is we're dealing with top players, whether it's our quarterback in Dak, whether it's a receiver in CD, whether it was one of the all-time great guards in Zach Martin. I mean, those are things that are part of this business. I know the 49ers have had their share of theirs because they have great players. You look around the league right now at other teams that are having issues, and usually as part of the negotiations, things can hit bumps, and there's a emotion that goes with these things. But at the end of the day, like I said, I think we're fortunate to be in this situation, and that we do have 3 of the better players in this league. That we're working with, and certainly we resolved. We've got 2 of them in our rearview mirror, and we're working on this one right now, and that's a part of it. It's certainly sounds like it's entertaining because everybody does like to talk about it.
It does get Jerry some attention as he's promoting this Netflix documentary coming up, premiere next week in LA. But it escalated to a point we haven't seen in terms of, Micah going on social media and asking for a trade and saying he made the request directly to you. What was your reaction when that happened? And we're not going to spend all our time talking about Micah.
I really didn't have a reaction other than, Micah, that's certainly a perspective you have, but we have a say in that as well, and we have no intention of trading Micah.
Nobody's made you any offers yet?
Like I said, we don't talk about our business internally in terms of anything that's going on. So
that's the other owner.
The other owner will, and that's because he is the owner, the main owner.
Not co-owner. He's the owner.
The owner.
Is that surreal? I mean, he brought up the documentary, but like a 9-part documentary about your family and obviously about the Cowboys and everything. Have you had a chance to look at a few of the episodes? I mean, it's got to be kind of interesting to sit there and watch something about you and your family.
Well, it is. I've had the opportunity to see everything, and it is very interesting. It brings back a lot of smiles, a lot of emotion. It's hard to believe it's been 35 years since a lot of what this docuseries is going to be about is, the first 10 years, but certainly at the end it goes into other things. But, certainly interesting to see. Like I said, it's both brings back a lot of smiles and a lot of emotion. The other thing is how different things are. You mentioned earlier about social media. You didn't have that back then. Mm-hmm. So, that's part of what, how the landscape has changed is we do have that now. And so, things were different now. Our good friend here to my left was in it quite a bit. Had a lot of wonderful comments for the most part.
We can show his language that he used. I heard he was working blue a little bit.
I was asked to quote the owner. In fact, I was forced to quote that owner.
Well,
it was.
Ed did a nice job.
I've been around a long time.
Yes, you have. You've seen a lot.
Hey, so after the season ended 7-10, a lot of injuries, a lot of disappointment. You make a coaching change that a lot of people didn't expect. Maybe even when the season ended, you didn't expect to make the coaching change.
Mm-hmm.
But the change you made in-house, promoting Brian Schottenheimer, Jerry said once the season was over, we wanted him influencing and making decisions on our offense. What is it about Brian Schottenheimer and his way of calling plays and creating a team that most appeal to you?
Well, I think you've seen a lot of it already. I mean, one of the biggest things that, jumps out at you when you talk about Coach Schottenheimer is his energy. It's authentic, it's consistent, it's persistent. It doesn't go away. It's just there. And I think it brings a lot in terms of an organization, when you're dealing with a journey. And certainly you get in times like a training camp where you're 3 weeks into it out of a 5-week training camp where everybody's got to, get over that hump part of that camp. And, he's never let up. And I see it in our players. I see it in our coaching staff. I see it in our organization. The response is, hey, we need to match that same energy, that same authenticity, what he's about, that consistency that he brings. And then, the other thing you mentioned is then the X's and O's part of it. And, it'd be no different than someone saying, hey, how are you going to manage Stephen if Jerry wasn't here? I probably wouldn't do it the exact same way. Shotty was certainly very loyal to Mike, and Mike was one hell of a coach, but he's doing things differently. And certainly you have deference and you have respect to the man who's in charge at the time. But, we're already seeing the things that I think are going to make us a better football team. He's certainly committed to running the football. I think we've got the personnel to run the football, and I think when we run the football well, it makes number 4 even better, which is obviously he's the leader. Dak's the leader of this football team. He's having a great camp, and I think what Shotty intends to do from an offensive philosophy really matches up well with Dak and his skill set.
When you talk about Dak and you're trying to find the right partner to create that postseason opportunity and success that he hasn't had as a quarterback, how much of that was Shotty's been here for 3 years. He has a great relationship with Dak. He wants to get him back under center and use the play action game, not put everything on the quarterback.
Right. Well, we obviously, when you're doing your diligence on who you want to be the next head coach, once you've made a decision to have a different head coach, then you certainly do your diligence. And as you can imagine, because guys on our team had been around Coach Schottenheimer, that was a part of the diligence that we went through in terms of coming to a conclusion with Coach Schottenheimer. One of the great things that we got, through personnel meetings over the years is Mike, when we had, after game personnel meetings on Mondays, he always had his coordinators in there. And so we got to know Coach Schottenheimer. Obviously we knew Dan Quinn well, and then Zim. Certainly Bones, and that's who would be in these personnel meetings, and you really got to get a great feel for what they're about. And Mike did a great job of bringing everybody along and letting them do their part of it. And so, no, that was great, as well as we really got to know Coach Schottenheimer even better.
Ed and I had a 1-on-1 or 2-on-1 with George Pickens, and man, he just seems to be in a great place, and the excitement level. Was that one of the better opportunities you've seen come along? Some of these things over the years y'all have had to jump on. Ailey famously was one of them. But when you saw Pickens available and you heard about it, it couldn't have really been a better fit, could there?
Well, when we get together at the end of the year, we go through a list of things that we feel like we need to do to get our team in a position, that have a chance to win a championship. And certainly that spot, having, and he's not, I hesitate to use number 2 because he's not. He's a 1, a 1A. But, this day and time in the NFL, you need 2 guys out there who are, who had that kind of skill set. And, we weren't able to, get it done. We didn't really see the guy we wanted in free agency. We had our eye on a couple guys in the draft, and that didn't fall right for us. And then so for, it to fall the right way for us after the draft, I think, I'd say we're living right. But it was a great opportunity for us, and certainly he's been, better than advertised. Everybody, all you have to do is go out here and watch practice and see the skill set that he has. But the other thing is how he conducts his business, how the chemistry with him and CD and Dak and the rest of the offense have really come together. He's all about team. and he wants to win a championship. And obviously, he's in the last year of his contract, so he's motivated, not unlike most, to perform and for his business as well.
When in the offseason, you were more aggressive than you were the previous year, making a big personnel investment in your new coaching staff. You signed or traded for, I think, 5 former first-round picks.
Mm-hmm.
Of those 5, which ones have made the biggest impression on you so far?
First of all, I would start by saying, the year before we were, we were in a land where we were figuring out how we were going to pay, how we were going to wear this Dak, CD, and Micah thing. And so we were getting our hands around that after we digested it and kind of got 2 of them done and kind of have a feel for, the area range where Micah should be. Then we felt comfortable really doing what we needed to do and knowing, what was going to happen in terms of guys who have really stepped up and, met expectations because, not only are they former number ones, but they're players that we had high round picks on as well. We graded them, in the same area. And so that's why we said, well, we like them coming out. We kind of like what they've done. Obviously, it's full body of work. They get docked a little bit if they hadn't played up to, their draft level. But, a guy like Kyer Elam's come out here and done one hell of a job for us. Solomon Thomas has done one hell of a job for us. It's certainly we've had good luck doing that. A guy like a Hooker, we did a couple of years ago, was a guy we had a top, Malik Hooker, a top 15 grade on. And, he's played really good football for us. So, we think those things work out. We had a big grade on Javante, our running back, and when he came out. And so, we just feel like as part of our personnel and what we do, certainly the way we graded them in college plays into it, but also what they put on tape as a professional does as well.
Has Tyler Booker lived up to your expectations?
Absolutely.
Early on as the number 1 pick?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you, but absolutely. I think sometimes when you're the top 15 pick, top 12, it's just expected that you come in here and you start and you do well. And so sometimes he doesn't get mentioned. Obviously, Donovan, their number 41, our first-round pick. I don't even want to try it. I still don't have it right.
You call him easy?
Easy is what I do, and so do a lot of other people. But at the end,
professional broadcast.
So you'll get it right. But obviously, he's been talked about a lot because he was the 2nd-round pick, and I think our defensive line coach is duly noted on record that he was on the table for him at 12. So, wow. But anyway, it's both those guys have really done well, but sometimes Booker, I think, gets lost in the shuffle because I think it's just expected that he's going to step up and play great football for us. But he had a hell of a scrimmage yesterday.
What gives you the most concern right now in terms of you got a left tackle without a lot of experience, without really any experience that may have to start the season for you? You have some inexperience along that offensive line. And then a little thin in secondary, although you said Elam's played well and you've had guys making some plays here. Which area of the team is kind of, I don't know if it keeps you up at night, but you're kind of thinking, okay, maybe we need to do something here or we need to get healthy. What's your biggest concern right now?
Well, let's start with left tackle. I think certainly we lost. That was a gut shot when we thought we had lost him for the year, and we did. I mean, the initial prognosis was probably a torn ACL, which would mean the end of the year. And I will say we were scrambling, thinking, hey, we're going to have to do something. And so when we found out that he's got a hell of a chance to, be back for the first game, if not the second, the way he's coming along, we feel like he's got a hell of a shot for the first game. But he was having one hell of a camp. And so, we actually feel pretty good about that. And then on top of the fact, that Nate Thomas comes in here and has really done well. We were really interested to see how he'd do it against, a different group that he's not seeing every day. And he really stepped up, had a nice day. Someone mentioned in the offensive room, they go, how did Nate Thomas do? Well, we didn't mention him. So when you're the left tackle and no one said what the hell's going on over there, that's a good thing. So, no, he's done a really good job for us. So I'd say offensive line-wise, we're good. I would say from a defensive standpoint, the secondary standpoint, obviously when you got 3 corners over there that played for you, or 2 corners that played for you last year, and Diggs and Butler and Revel, our 3rd-round pick, who we really like, over with Britt Brown and Carson. Okay, don't want to forget him either. Obviously, that's probably the number one thing that we've got to see evolve, and would keep you up a little bit because there's, they're not right. Hey, we're going to get them back in 2 days, or we're going to get them back right away. So that's certainly something that we'll keep our eye on closely.
And they're all missing these valuable training camps.
Yeah, especially a guy like Rebel, who hadn't played a lot. Obviously, a smaller college. So we're hoping he gets back out here to get, start getting practiced up sooner than later. But, that's probably the number one spot where, whether it's Coach Schottenheimer, whether it's Jerry, myself, or Will, that we got our eye on.
How are your expectations different going into a season where with an established Super Bowl winning coach like Mike McCarthy have had 3 straight years of 12 wins in the regular season to now we're 7-10. We made a coaching change. How does that change what you expect as a phenomenon?
It really doesn't. We like our football team, and we like Coach Schottenheimer. He's been around winning football teams. He's been around great coaches, and obviously his father. But Coach Carroll, was certainly a mentor of his. He understands what it takes to win in this league. We feel really good about the team that we put together. As you mentioned, I think we checked, all our boxes in terms of what we put together in the preseason and what we want to get accomplished from a personnel standpoint. And then I think Coach Schottenheimer and the coaching staff, hats off to that too. The coaching staff that he put together, I think is really solid in terms of the guys that are here. And I think we can go out and execute with the personnel we have, and it'll give us an opportunity to compete to win a championship.
Is this the best this division has been in a long time when you think about teams playing the NFC title game, 2 teams that in the past you've had success against, but now the Commanders have come up? You feel much better about your team heading into next season. Is this about as good as it's been in a long time?
Kind of reminds you of the old days, the Beast in the East. But, there were always
ourselves and
good football teams. And certainly we got great respect for Dan Quinn and what he's doing there. The Eagles, you can't argue that. They're Super Bowl champions. And you never sleep on the Giants because they're a great organization that do things the right way. And it does feel like the East is, going to be one of those divisions that's going to be one of the best. But, in order to compete for a championship, you've got to you've got to compete day in and day out. And we know we've got, 3 teams that we're going to play twice that are going to be ready to go.
You look at your schedule, and because Washington and Philadelphia are in your division and they both went to the championship game, that's 4 games you play against those 2 teams. Mm-hmm. And then you've got a bunch of 14-win teams that you play late in the year, the 2 Super Bowl teams back to back. How important is it that you get off to a good start given the back half of your schedule?
Well, I think it's always important to get off to a good start. I mean, that's good for the, for any team is to get some W's early and often. And, but, it's a journey, and we're ready to go to work, and we got a lot of work to do before the season kicks off. But certainly we're getting a lot accomplished. Feel like we're right on target as to where we need to be, and, look forward to competing.
So you don't bat an eye because we in the media go crazy over all this stuff. Nicki Minaj, I think Dez got involved and everything. You got that, he puts out that notes app. Okay, I love the Cowboys now. I don't want to be a part of it. Jerry said, hey, this is just posture. This is negotiations. That doesn't really get your pulse going. Not a player come out and say that.
No,
it does. A little bit unlike some of your other holdouts.
Yeah, I just think it's the environment that we're in these days. As we mentioned earlier, social media. I mean, everybody's got their comments, and everybody, whether it's a YouTube or everybody has their take, and that's the environment that we live in today. And certainly we understand that. It's end of the day, it's probably, great for the NFL that the interest is there in terms of people wanting to, that they're curious about what's going on. They're not apathetic. They want to see what's happening. And, it's just the nature of the business that we're in.
My last question. Jerry is probably the most prominent owner in all of sports. certainly in the NFL, subjects himself to a lot of criticism.
Mm-hmm.
How aware are you of that? And as a son, is it ever hard to take?
No, I mean, when you've been doing it 35 years, and by the way, it started day one. So you get thick skin, and nobody's going to eat you. So you're going to go to work every day and do the things that we can do to bring a championship to the Cowboys. I mean, obviously, there's an empty part in our stomach. I mean, a lot of great things have happened to Jerry and our family, in terms of the career. Obviously, getting the 3 Super Bowls early is great. We've won some football games since then. Hadn't won the right football games in terms of our postseason success and Super Bowl. Jerry's been to the Hall of Fame. Obviously, our team from a business standpoint's done well. But there's an empty spot, that we hadn't had the success that we want to have and that we hold ourselves accountable to, which is success in the playoffs and ultimately bringing another championship back to our Cowboy fans. They deserve that, and we've got to be relentless in our pursuit of it.
All right, I'll get you one of these, by the way. I've got my Fox Hot Springs. I am now part of the E-Radio Network. It's a syndicated show. Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas. Look, I wrote these down. Little Rock, Gurdon, Mountain Home, Malvern,
Hot Springs.
Yes, Arkadelphia.
I spent a lot of time in Hot Springs.
Yeah?
Used to go watch the ponies there, and actually my parents brought me up on had a lake house there we'd go to on the weekends occasionally, and we love Hot Springs.
Was it Lake Hamilton?
Yeah, Lake Hamilton. Yeah.
Brings back good memories. Good. Yeah, Arkansas folks will get to hear this.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for doing this not only this year, but really every year. You've accommodated this request. And, we're grateful for the opportunity to get your thoughts and your point of view on all these different subjects. And
great being on, Ed.
Always. We'll be watching the Netflix.
And Ed, good conversation with Stephen. They made it pretty clear when he arrived with our buddy from PR, Tad, that Caper, that they were not really wanting to get too much into Micah. I think you and I responded by getting into it quite a bit.
Beginning and ended with that subject.
Yes. And, it just shows the difference. I think sometimes people wonder how different would the Cowboys be run with Stephen and Jerry. There'd be a lot of similarities, but from the media perspective, it would be a lot different. And Stephen's good with the media, as you just saw, and he does a great job with it. But in terms of like talking about contracts and the back and forth that's going on, and Jerry doing that deal that he thought he did directly with Micah, I just don't think Stephen would have gotten involved in something like that.
I think you saw. I mean, he'll have a conversation about it. He'll provide a limited amount of insight, but he's not going to get into a back and forth with a player in a public venue. And Jerry's, all too willing to do that and makes himself vulnerable to his critics when he does it. Everybody seems to be taking Micah Parsons' side on this deal, and I understand why. I mean, owners don't always honor the contracts that they sign with players. They still cut players before their contracts are gone.
Yeah.
And they don't get anything but the guaranteed money. So certainly the owners have the power, have the leverage, and that's why I really think this thing could end differently than Zeke and Dak twice and CeeDee Lamb last year and Zach Martin the year before. That's because the Cowboys have the leverage in this situation. And they know, I think, I mean, we heard Micah Parsons come here and say, I really don't think I could ever hold out. I could never stay away. He's demonstrated he can hold in. He can not do things, but he loves his teammates. He loves being around the game. He's the ultimate competitor. And I cannot imagine whatever it comes to that he's going to miss week 1 and not be on that stage and take that platform and miss a game check. I just don't see it. Nobody's done it with the Cowboys since Emmitt Smith in 1993. And I don't see Micah Parsons being the next one to do it. But I thought Stephen was great on a variety of subjects. Obviously, that one's not his best. He knows a lot. He chooses not to share much. He did say some interesting things about the personnel on the roster, on the coach that they've selected for the first time, a 51-year-old head coach in Brian Schottenheimer.
Yep.
And his expectations.
we saw, just so you know, there's a walkthrough going on, and Micah was out there. And what's interesting to me, Ed, that's when he's much more active in those walkthroughs because he can't go out there and get hurt and everything. And so he kind of jumps in there a little bit, and it was part of that. And so,
but what he's doing, holding in, there is an effect that's harmful to the team. First of all, he's not getting himself ready to play in Philadelphia week 1, and this team has to win early in the season, like we talked to Steven about, because of the way the schedule plays out in the back end. It's the most challenging schedule in the league the second half of the season. They have to stack some wins early, and you want to get buy-in from the players in the locker room for your new head coach. And the best way to do that is to win early. And Micah's not getting himself ready to win early. And beyond that, he's not providing elite edge rush snaps against an offensive line that's going to see that in Philadelphia. And so that's harmful to the team. He's also not working, coordinating stunts with a bunch of new defensive line and outside linebacker teammates. So I think the Cowboys are being harmed in the process, and Micah Parsons intends to harm them. He knows that's going to be the effect, but that's the leverage he has, and he's using it to the best of his ability.
All right, and again, we brought up Ezeraku with Steven still working on his name, EZ. And I guess that is one of the silver linings that some of those guys are getting even more reps than they would have. I just say, and he was very optimistic, and he said very nice things about Nate Thomas. And maybe Nate Thomas was better than I thought in that joint practice yesterday. But the Cowboys' offensive line got shredded. I mean, the run game, you were over there, and then I got over there and watched some more of it. Didn't get any better. They could not run on the Rams. So that's tough for a coach that has said he really, really believes
wants to dominate the line of scrimmage. He told us that. He wants to be physical. And I question at this point whether they'll be able to do it. Let's see how these 3 preseason games go. They're going to need to be able to run the ball in Philadelphia, and it doesn't get any more challenging than that.
If he may have gotten fired for letting Russ cook in Seattle, he will not get fired for letting Dak cook. He may need to do that. And it's been a good one. Rogue Media Network, appreciate everybody. Corey, Z's been great. And we got another big podcast to share with you tomorrow because we sat down with the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, and that's going to be fun. And we'll be sharing that, and that'll be exciting. That'll drop Thursday. So the hits just keep on coming. I mean, George Pickens, Mozzie, Tyler Booker, the first round pick, Steven,
Kyer Elam.
Shoddy, Kyer Elam. I mean, if you're a major part of the Cowboys, and we kind of visited with Jerry, so we've had some good times here.
We've done it all
in Oxnard, California. For Ed Werder, I am Matt Mosley, and we appreciate Stephen Jones for joining us today. That has been the Doomsday Podcast.
We are Rogue Media Sports.